She thought she saved a stranger, but the woman she saved was the mafia boss's mother, and she had claimed her as daughter-in-law on the spot. Most people in Chicago whispered the same thing: don't ever cross paths with Cecilia Bell. The mother of the city's most feared mafia boss wasn't just wealthy, she was a legend. Fierce, sharp-tongued, loyal to death. If you upset her, you upset the entire syndicate under her son. But on one dangerous afternoon, Cecilia Bell crossed paths with someone nobody expected. A waitress in a faded apron, dark curls tied with a rubber band, carrying a tray of leftover apple pies. And that's the girl who saved her life. The city traffic was clogged, as usual. Honking, heat, exhaust fumes. Cecilia's black sedan sat at the red light, windows down. She was returning from the cemetery, where she visited her late husband every month. Her driver, Marcus, stepped out to check the road. For a split second, she was alone, and that's when it happened. A delivery truck barreled down the slope, brakes screeching, horn blaring. Everyone screamed. But Cecilia didn't look up in time. The truck was heading straight at her open door. And then, a blur, a voice, a hand pulling her violently out of the car. They both crashed onto the sidewalk. Pain exploded across her hip. A metal tray clattered across the pavement, pies rolling everywhere. Cecilia gasped, shaking. What just happened? Emmeline Velasquez, 23, diner waitress, breathed out shakily. "Ma'am, are you okay?" Her apron was ripped, her elbow was bleeding, her heart pounded so hard it hurt, but she had saved her. The truck smashed into the vacant sedan. Metal folded, glass flew like glitter. People screamed. Cecilia's eyes widened. That impact would have killed her instantly. "You?" Her voice trembled. "You pulled me out?" Emmeline nodded, panting. "I saw it coming. You didn't move. I just reacted." No fear, no hesitation, just instinct and heart. Cecilia stared at her savior, chest tight with shock. This girl, this stranger, this waitress had risked her own life to save an old woman she didn't even know. Sirens echoed. Men in black suits rushed from nowhere. Phones exploded with orders. And behind all the chaos, a black Range Rover screeched to a stop. The man who got off made half the street go silent. Roberto Fisher, Chicago's mafia prince, Cecilia Bell's only son. Tall, sharp jawline, cold eyes. The type of man people fear even when he's calm. He rushed to his mother, panic slicing through his face. "Are you hurt? What happened?" She pointed at Emmeline. "She saved me." He turned, and for a moment, just a moment, his cold world paused. Emmeline stood there, curls messy, apron dusty, pie stains on her shirt. A random diner waitress who had just stepped into a world she didn't understand. "You?" he asked quietly. "You saved her?" She blinked. "Me? Yeah, someone had to." His eyes dropped to her bleeding elbow, his jaw clenched. "You're injured." "I'm fine." "You're bleeding." "It's just a scratch." People were watching, whispering. The mafia prince speaking softly to a black waitress. Unbelievable. But Roberto didn't care. He took Emmeline's wrist gently and examined the wound. "Get her cleaned up," he ordered. "Now." Emmeline pulled her hand back. "No, I'm fine. Really, I need to go back to work." "Work?" He blinked at her. "You just saved my mother's life. You're not going back to that diner." Emmeline tried to laugh. "Sir, someone's got to serve tables." Cecilia let out a breathy laugh. "Roberto," she whispered. "She reminds me of someone." He frowned. "Who?" His mother didn't answer. She was staring at Emmeline with a softness nobody had seen in years. Emergency teams cleared the road. Mafia men guarded the scene. Reporters gathered. But Cecilia wasn't focused on any of that. She was focused on Emmeline, on her scraped elbows, her trembling hands, her kind, terrified eyes. "Child," she said softly, "what is your name?" "Emmeline Velasquez." "Are you always this reckless?" Emmeline flushed. I just didn't want you to get hurt." Cecilia nodded slowly. "So you threw yourself toward danger for a stranger?" She wasn't a stranger, Emmeline said gently. Just someone's mother. Roberto inhaled sharply. Something tugged in him. Cecilia placed her hand on Emmeline's cheek. My son is lucky, she murmured. Very lucky. Lucky? Emmeline frowned. Why? And then right there on a broken street with smoke rising and half the city watching, Cecilia Bell spoke the words that changed everything. Because from today, you are my daughter-in-law. The crowd gasped. Roberto choked on air. Emmeline's soul left her body. What? Cecilia squeezed Emmeline's hands. You saved my life. That makes you family. Fate chose you. I accept you. Roberto stared at his mother, stunned. Mama, you can't just be quiet, she snapped. This is the girl. I feel it. Don't argue with me. But I said, don't argue. Everyone stood frozen. Cecilia nodded proudly. Emmeline's voice trembled. Ma'am, I didn't save you to get married. I saved you because it was right. Cecilia touched her cheek again. Child, you did more for me today than people who call me family. Her eyes softened. I thought my life was ending, but perhaps it was just beginning. Roberto dragged his mother aside. Mama, you can't force someone. I'm not forcing, she hissed. I'm declaring. There's a difference. She barely knows us. I know enough. I saw the way you looked at her. I didn't look at Roberto, she said slowly. Don't lie to your mother. He shut his mouth, because she was right. When he first saw Emmeline, something had flickered in him, a crack, a thaw. She is the girl, Cecilia whispered, the one who brings warmth back. Roberto's chest tightened. He didn't believe in fate, but the way Emmeline had looked at him, fearless, confused, soft-hearted, that did something to him. Emmeline tried to slip away, but Cecilia grabbed her hand. You're coming with us. Ma'am, I really have to go back. No, you're family now. I'm not. Cecilia smiled. Not yet. Emmeline nearly fainted. Roberto pinched the bridge of his nose. She's scared. Then comfort her. Roberto walked to Emmeline, voice lowered. You don't have to come, he said. My mother acts fast. Emmeline let out a nervous laugh. That's one way to put it, but I'd like to thank you properly, he added quietly. At least, let us take care of your injury. She hesitated. His eyes were warm, not cold mafia, just human, and she trusted that look. Okay, she nodded, but only for the injury. Cecilia smirked. We'll see. Roberto groaned. Fate had arrived wearing a diner apron, and the mafia world had no idea what was coming. Emmeline had never been in a car this expensive. The leather smelled new. The air was cool. The windows dimmed the city into something distant. What am I doing? She whispered. Roberto sat beside her, jacket off, sleeves rolled up. He looked less like a crime prince and more like a tired man who'd forgotten how to relax. Cecilia sat in front, turning around constantly. You're pale, she said. Are you hurt anywhere else? I'm okay, ma'am. Mama, Roberto sighed. You're more injured than she is. Because she matters, Cecilia shot back. You can handle pain. She shouldn't have to. She said it like it was fact, like Emmeline already belonged. Emmeline hugged the kit tighter. Really, I'm fine. And you will eat, Cecilia cut in, at our house. Emmeline jolted. House? Roberto met her eyes. You don't have to stay long, just until you're comfortable. Comfortable? She didn't know what that meant anymore. The car turned off the main road and climbed a long hill. At the top, iron gates opened, revealing a sprawling estate, not a house, a world. Stone and glass, lanterns, a courtyard around a central tree older than any building. Men in suits moved near the entrance, bowing as the car rolled in. Emmeline's throat dried. This is where you live? Yes, Cecilia replied proudly. You'll get used to it. Roberto coughed. Mama. She ignored him. The moment Emmeline stepped out, the air changed. Men paused. Their eyes flicked to her. She didn't fit here. Good, she hadn't come to fit. Don't stare, Roberto said calmly. She's a guest. The way he said guest sounded heavier. The men bowed and turned away.
You command them like that? Emmeline whispered. They work for me, he said simply. And who do you work for? He paused. Family, he replied eventually. She held his gaze for a second longer than she should have. Then a woman in her 50s approached. Madam, Mr. Fisher, welcome back. Mrs. Patterson, Cecilia smiled. This is Emmeline. She saved my life. Treat her as blood. Mrs. Patterson's eyes widened, then softened. Of course. Come inside, Miss Emmeline. Just Emmeline, she replied weakly. Inside, everything had quiet polish, family portraits, vases, carved wood, the kind of home built on generations and guarded by secrets. They led her to a sitting room overlooking the courtyard. It should have been intimidating. It wasn't, because someone had left a half-finished crossword puzzle on the side table. A blanket folded imperfectly, an open book face down. This space was lived in. Sit, Cecilia said, easing down with a wince. Roberto was beside her instantly. You're hurt. Hospital. I'm fine. Mama, you were nearly killed. After we take care of Emmeline. He knew that tone. Once she decided, armies couldn't change her mind. Roberto, the kit, she commanded. He reached for Emmeline's arm carefully. This might sting, he murmured. Her breath caught. Honestly, I've burned myself worse on Friarwell. He gave the smallest smile. Then he cleaned the wound with gentle movements. Hands that probably broke bones, now tending to a scraped elbow. Cecilia watched them. Her son who rarely let anyone close, this girl who walked into death for a stranger. Where is your family, Emmeline? She asked softly. Emmeline glanced up. My mom works 2 jobs. My little sister Gabrielle, she's 15, trying to stay in school. We don't have a lot, but we have each other. And your father? Gone, she said simply, since I was 8. Cecilia's eyes flickered with understanding. My husband is gone too. Cancer, 6 years ago. Men leave through death or choice, but we women stay and hold what's left. Emmeline looked at her differently then, not just as the mafia queen, but as a woman who had lost and kept walking. I'm sorry, Emmeline said softly. We survive, Cecilia said. That's what strong women do. After bandaging her, Mrs. Patterson brought food. So much food. Roasted chicken, mashed potatoes, green beans, bread, salad. Emmeline's eyes widened. I can't eat all this. You won't alone, Cecilia said. We'll eat together, like family does. Roberto sat across from her. This time, no chaos, no crowd, just a table and awkward silence. Try this, Cecilia urged, placing chicken on Emmeline's plate. You need strength. She took a bite. Delicious. She hadn't realized how hungry she was. You saved not just me today, Cecilia continued, but my son's future. Do you understand? Emmeline blinked. His future? If I had died, she said bluntly, my enemies would smell weakness. They would come for Roberto. You prevented that. Emmeline's stomach twisted. I just saw a truck. I moved. Anyone would have. No. Most people freeze, or scream, or film. Their eyes locked. She looked away first. Then I'm glad I didn't freeze. He nodded once. So am I. More than you know. The way he said it warmed her. After they ate, Cecilia walked Emmeline to the front hall. You'll come back, she said, not a question. Ma'am, I really don't think... I need to properly thank your mother and sister. I want to meet them. Emmeline's chest tightened. It had been long since anyone spoke about her family with respect.
Okay, she said quietly. We'll come. Good, Cecilia smiled. Then we can begin planning the wedding. Emmeline nearly choked. Wedding? Roberto almost dropped his keys. Mama. What? I'm old. I don't have time to waste. I know what I saw. You two have threads tied already. Emmeline held up both hands. Ma'am, your son and I literally just met. And he has never looked at anyone the way he looked at you, Cecilia said firmly. Don't argue with my instincts. They are never wrong. Roberto muttered something in Italian. Emmeline's heart beat too fast, but under the embarrassment, she couldn't lie. There was something between them. Back at the diner, the lights buzzed like nothing had changed. Her manager glared. You took forever. You okay? Long story, she sighed. Very long story. She tied her apron back on and snapped into rhythm. But her mind was far from the greasy grills. It was in that quiet room with the woman who'd called her family. It was in the way a mafia boss had held her arm like it might break. It was in the moment she'd heard him almost panic. Gabrielle was waiting outside after close, leaning against the lamppost. "You good?" she asked. "Physically, yeah," Emmeline said. "Mentally? We'll see." Gabrielle squinted. "You look like someone who just got proposed to." Emmeline froze. "Why would you say that?" "Because there's a guy behind you who looks like he'd burn the city if you crossed the street wrong." She turned. Across the road, leaning against a black car, was Roberto. He wasn't in a suit now, just dark jeans, plain shirt, and a stare that saw straight through everything. He crossed the street. "Emmeline?" he said with a small nod. Then he looked at Gabrielle. "You must be her sister." Gabrielle puffed her chest. "Yeah, who's asking?" "Roberto Fisher?" Gabrielle's bravado shrank. "The Fisher? Like the Fisher family?" Emmeline groaned. "Can we not do this right now?" Roberto almost smiled. "I came to make sure you got home safe. The men involved in the truck, they might not like what happened today." Emmeline's stomach sank. "You mean they could come after you? Or your mom?" "Or you," he said quietly. "You're a witness. You saved the person they tried to kill. That makes you a problem." Gabrielle stepped in front of her sister. "Absolutely not. Nobody's touching her." Roberto's gaze flickered between them. "Good," he said. "Then you understand why it might be safer if you both stayed at our estate for a while." "Temporarily." Emmeline's eyes widened. "What? No, I can't just leave everything." "It's temporary," he said, "until I deal with whoever orchestrated that accident." She swallowed. He was right. But moving into a mafia house wasn't on her life plan. "I can't just leave my job," she protested. "My mom, our apartment." "I'll compensate your manager," he replied. "Your mother can visit. Your apartment rent will be covered. Your sister can continue school. We have tutors, internet, everything." "My life," Emmeline said, voice shaking. "I can't just pack it and move into your world." He stepped closer. "You already stepped into my world when you pulled my mother out of that car. I'm just asking you to let me make sure you survive it." That hit hard. She exhaled slowly. "Gabrielle, what do you think?" Gabrielle looked at Roberto, then at Emmeline. "You trust him?" Emmeline thought about everything. "I don't know him," she said honestly, "but I don't feel unsafe around him." That was enough for Gabrielle. "Fine," she said, pointing at Roberto. "But if anything happens to her, I'm coming for you." Roberto's expression flickered. "I believe you," he said, "and I give you my word. Nothing will happen to either of you." 2 days later, Emmeline stood in front of the Fisher estate with a single duffel bag and a racing heart. She hadn't brought much: a few clothes, her worn hoodie, a small framed photo of her mom, and Gabrielle crammed into a photo booth, laughing. She felt like an imposter. This place was marble and money. She was chipped nail polish and discount sneakers. Mrs. Patterson greeted her at the door. "Welcome, Emmeline." Home. The word stabbed and soothed. Inside, Cecilia was waiting. Dressed softly, hair down. "You came," she said, eyes shining. "I said I would." "And you kept your word," she nodded. "Good. I like that." Emmeline glanced around. "I'm only staying until it's safe." "You are not a burden," Cecilia said firmly. "You are an answer." Answer to what? To a prayer I stopped saying long ago. Before Emmeline could respond, Roberto appeared in the doorway. "You're here," he said. "You sound surprised." "I'm grateful," he admitted. Their eyes met. Something quiet passed between them.
That night, Emmeline lay in a guest room bigger than her entire apartment. Soft bed, clean sheets, view of the courtyard. She couldn't sleep. Outside, she heard faint footsteps of guards. Somewhere, a phone buzzed with whispers. This house was calm, but the world it belonged to was not. She padded onto the balcony for air. Below, by the tree, a lone figure stood. Roberto. He was staring at the sky, hands in pockets, shoulders heavy. She watched him, and then whispered, "Roberto." He looked up, and she expected him to tell her to go back inside. Instead, he said, "Can't sleep?" "New pillow," she shrugged. "It feels like it's judging me." He huffed a soft laugh. "Come down. The tree doesn't judge." So she did, and under that old tree, a mafia boss and a diner waitress sat side by side, not as savior and saved, not as boss and outsider, just as two people whose lives had collided. "How long do you think I'll have to stay here?" she asked. "Until I'm sure no one will use you to hurt me." She tilted her head. "People would really come after me just to get to you?" "Yes." She thought about that. "Then, you'd better stay alive." He looked at her. "I intend to. Now, more than ever." Emmeline's heart made a dangerous decision. It started to fall. For 3 days, the estate pulsed with a tension Emmeline couldn't name. Guards doubled, phones buzzed. Roberto disappeared into late meetings. Cecilia kept jade beads wrapped around her fingers. Emmeline felt it all. It happened at dawn. Emmeline walked downstairs for water, bleary-eyed, wearing a borrowed sweatshirt. She wasn't expecting to find a man in a black suit in the living room. He wasn't a guard she recognized. "You must be the girl," he said slowly. "The girl?" "The reason the young master is making unusual decisions." Before she could respond, a voice cut through. "Step away from her." Roberto. He stood at the top of the stairs, jaw clenched, eyes like steel. The suited man bowed stiffly. "Young master, I was simply—" "No," Roberto said coldly. "You were provoking her. Try that again, and you won't be allowed inside these walls." The man's eyes flickered. Then he bowed and walked out. Emmeline exhaled shakily. "Who was that?" "Someone who forgets his place," Roberto muttered. "He won't speak to you again." She watched him. "You barely slept." "I'm working on something." "What?"
He hesitated. "The accident wasn't an accident." Her stomach dropped. "What?" "The truck was sabotaged," he said, "and someone tipped them off about my mother's schedule." Emmeline's pulse hammered. "You mean someone wanted to kill her?" "Yes, to get to me. And because I pulled her out, now they know my face?" He looked at her, eyes softening. "That's why you're here, Emmeline. I need to protect you." That afternoon, Emmeline found Cecilia in the courtyard, ripping petals off flowers with unnerving calm. "They wanted me dead," she said, "and when they failed, they looked for another weakness." She turned, eyes blazing. "You." Emmeline swallowed. "I didn't ask to be part of this. You're not just anything," Cecilia snapped. "You saved me. That made you family, and family is both shield and target." Emmeline's chest tightened. "I didn't know." "How could you?" the older woman said softly. "You were living your life. You didn't ask for this world." Emmeline nodded. "But fate doesn't ask," Cecilia continued. "It chooses. And it chose you." Emmeline blinked hard. "Why me?" Cecilia touched her cheek. "Because my son looks at you the way a man looks at his first sunrise after decades of storms." Emmeline froze. "I didn't come here to become anything. I didn't come to ruin his life." "You saved his life too," Cecilia cut in. "More than you know." Emmeline shook her head. "I don't belong here. This world terrifies me." Cecilia didn't deny it. "It should."
Then she held Emmeline's hands. But strength isn't loud. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's just choosing to stay when everything wants you to run. Her grip tightened. And you stayed. Emmeline didn't know what broke her more, the fear or the way this woman made her feel like she mattered. It happened when the sun dipped. Emmeline stepped into the courtyard to water herbs. Mrs. Patterson had said fresh mint made Roberto smile. As she bent down, she heard a hiss, click, something metallic hitting stone. Emmeline froze. A little black device rolled to a stop. Not a grenade, a tracker. Someone had thrown it into the estate. Before she could scream, a gloved hand grabbed her shoulder. She gasped. A figure yanked her backward. A shadow, tall, masked, moving fast. His arm locked around her waist. Before he could drag her farther, a gunshot cracked. Bang! The masked man jerked, stumbled, vanished into the hedge. Emmeline fell to her knees. She couldn't breathe. Roberto sprinted from across the courtyard, gun raised, eyes wild. "Emmeline!" He slid beside her. "Did he touch you? Did he hurt you? Look at me." "I think he tried to grab me," she gasped. Roberto's face hardened. Pure rage. He pulled her into his chest without hesitation. Not romantic. Instinct. Raw. Desperate. "You're safe," he murmured. "I've got you. I'm here." She clung to him, fingers gripping his shirt. Guards surrounded them. Cecilia rushed out. "What happened?" Roberto spoke through clenched teeth. "Someone tried to take her." Cecilia's expression changed like a storm. "Over my dead body." She crouched beside Emmeline. "Child, look at me." Emmeline did. "They thought you could use you against us," Cecilia said. "They thought you were weak." Her eyes burned. They were wrong. Emmeline trembled. "Why won't they leave me alone?" Roberto's arms tightened. "Because you're important to me," he said, before he could stop himself. Silence exploded. Emmeline's breath hitched. Cecilia's eyebrows rose, but she smiled. "There it is," she murmured. "Finally." Roberto helped Emmeline to her feet. "I'm taking you somewhere safer." "This house isn't safe?" she whispered. "It is. But you're not sleeping alone tonight." She stumbled. "What?" "I'll stay outside your door," he said quickly. "I won't enter. I'll just make sure nothing gets within 10 feet of you." Cecilia placed a hand on her son's arm. "Roberto, you can't protect her like this forever." "I will protect her any way I must." "You can't fight a generation of enemies alone." He glared. "Watch me." Emmeline stepped between them. Her voice was soft, but held courage. "Roberto, you can't destroy your life because I got pulled into it." "You didn't get pulled," he said sharply. "You were targeted because of me." "And I'm still here," she replied quietly. He froze. "I'm still here," she repeated, "and I'm not running away." Roberto's jaw clenched. He'd heard gunshots without blinking, faced rivals without flinching, lost men, fought wars, but this, a girl saying she wouldn't leave him, it made him feel something he didn't have words for. He reached for her hand, not forcefully, just gently. Emmeline let him hold it. Cecilia watched with satisfaction. "I knew it," she whispered. "I knew fate brought her." Later that night, Roberto stood outside Emmeline's room, back against wall, gun within reach. He knew she couldn't hear him, but he spoke anyway. "You're not alone, I promise." Inside, Emmeline sat on the bed, hand pressed to her heart. She didn't know where this path led, but she knew this. She was no longer the girl who served coffee. She was now the girl a mafia family would kill to protect, the girl someone tried to abduct, the girl fate chose. And tonight she realized something she'd been too scared to admit. She didn't want to disappear from his world. She wanted to stay, even if it terrified her. The Fisher estate didn't sleep for the next 48 hours. Calls flew, deals threatened, alliances tested, and through it all, one truth settled. Whoever went after Emmeline had declared war. Roberto sat at the long table in the underground room. No windows, just cold lights and colder faces. The same man who'd called Emmeline the girl stood opposite, hands bound, lip bleeding. "You went too far," Roberto said flatly. The man scoffed. "She's just some waitress." "No," Roberto replied. "She is my mother's savior. Under this roof, that makes her untouchable." Another man spoke. "You've gone soft over some girl. The whole city's watching. You're supposed to be untouchable, but now everybody knows how to make you bleed." Roberto's expression didn't change. "Everybody already knew I bleed. They just thought they could use it. That's their mistake." The bound man leaned forward. "You care about her. They'll use that again and again until someone gets to her first." Roberto's jaw tightened. "I'm aware." "Then let me fix it," the man said. "One bullet, one night, problem solved. No waitress, no weakness." He said it casual, like taking out trash. The room went dead silent. Roberto didn't raise his voice. "Repeat that. I want you to hear yourself." The man swallowed. Roberto stood slowly. "You think caring makes me weak? You think loyalty is a liability? You think the only way to survive is to cut away anything that looks like light?" He stepped closer. "But here's something you never understood. Men who fear loss are dangerous. Men who never had anything to lose, they're reckless. But men like me, who finally found one thing they refuse to lose," he smiled cold, "they're the most terrifying of all." He nodded to his men. "Get him out. He doesn't work for us anymore."
The man paled. "You're exiling me?" "That's the merciful version," Roberto said. "Take it, before my mother hears what you suggested. She won't be as kind." As the door slammed, a lieutenant cleared his throat. "Young master, you know others will talk." "Let them talk," Roberto replied. "Let them know what happens when someone lays a hand on what's mine." Emmeline hadn't meant to listen. She'd only come downstairs for tea. But voices carried. "They'll keep coming for her. Then she's what's mine." Her heart stuttered. She didn't hear every word, but enough. Enough to know she wasn't a footnote anymore. Enough to know this war was about her. Footsteps approached. Roberto emerged from the stairwell. Tie loosened, sleeves rolled, expression carved from stone. He almost passed her, then stopped. "You were listening," he said. "Not a question." She swallowed. "Not on purpose. Your walls aren't soundproof." He exhaled. "I didn't want you to hear it like that." "Hear what? That someone suggested killing me?" The word tasted wrong. His eyes darkened. "Yes, and that I made it clear what happens to anyone who tries." She studied him. "You called me what's mine." Silence stretched. He could have denied it. He didn't. "Yes," he said. Her stomach flipped. "Am I?" His jaw flexed. "Do you want to be?" he asked quietly. There it was. No mafia, no mother, no enemies. Just a man asking a woman a question. Trembling, she stepped closer. "You terrify me," she admitted. "I know. You drag danger everywhere. I know. You make my life more complicated every day." A faint smile. "I know, Emmeline." She took a breath, like jumping off a cliff. "And I think my heart chose you the second you bandaged my elbow and pretended it was nothing." Something in his face shattered. The control, the distance, the denial. All of it. "Emmeline," he murmured. "Don't say my name like that," she said, voice shaking, "unless you mean it." He did. He meant every syllable. He closed the distance. His fingers brushed her jaw, slow, giving her time to pull away. When she didn't, he lowered his forehead to hers. "You're not my weakness," he whispered. "You're the first thing in my life that makes me want to be better than the man I've been." Her eyes burned. That's not a small thing to say. It's the only way I know how to say it. She laughed through tears. You're very bad at normal romance. I wasn't trained for normal anything. Then he kissed her. It wasn't desperate. It was a promise. Slow, intentional, unhurried. The kind of kiss that didn't ask for anything except truth. When they pulled apart, they were both breathing hard. Does this make things more dangerous? She asked. Definitely, he said. She swallowed. Then we do it together. He smiled slow, disbelieving. Together, he echoed. Of course, Cecilia didn't miss a thing. Later that evening, she summoned Emmeline to the courtyard tree. Sit, she said, patting the bench. Emmeline sat. You had a choice, Cecilia began. You could have left after the accident, after the first scare, after the second, yet you stayed. Emmeline nodded. I thought about running a lot. And why didn't you? Emmeline looked at her hands. Because you risked everything, raising your son in this world. Because he carries scars I don't know how to name. Because I saw both of you standing against an entire city, and I realized I didn't want to be one more person who walked away from him. Cecilia didn't speak. I can't fight like your men. I can't negotiate like him. I don't know how to aim a gun or threaten a room. She lifted her gaze. But I know how to stand with somebody when the world is trying to pull them apart. I know how to stay. And if I say I'm not leaving, I mean it. A slow, emotional smile touched Cecilia's lips. Good, she whispered, because I don't need a soldier for my son. I need someone who will remind him he's allowed to be human. Her throat tightened. I'm not perfect. I'll panic. I'll question. I'll argue. Oh, I expect it. Lord knows he needs someone who doesn't cower when he walks into a room. Silence settled soft and thick. Then Cecilia straightened and spoke words that carried weight. Emmeline Velasquez, she said formally. On the day you pulled me from that car, I claimed you as my daughter-in-law in shock and instinct. Today, I claim you again, with full awareness. Emmeline's breath caught. This life is not easy. This family is not simple. But if you want it, if you want him, then I give you my blessing, not because you saved my life, because you've changed my son's heart. Tears spilled before Emmeline could stop them. I don't know what to say. Say you won't break his heart. I won't, she said immediately. Say you will drag him out of darkness if he ever tries to sink back in.
I will. Say you know this isn't a fairy tale. It's work. It's war. It's love in the middle of chaos. Emmeline laughed through tears. I've never wanted a fairy tale. I just want something real. Cecilia's eyes shone. Then stand up. Emmeline did. The older woman pulled a delicate bracelet from her wrist. Gold, simple, worn from years of touch. This was given to me by my mother-in-law, she said. She wanted me to pass it to the woman who would stand beside my son when I no longer could. With gentle fingers, she clasped it around Emmeline's wrist. It fit like it had been waiting. There, she said. Now you're truly mine. I wiped my cheeks. I thought I was his. You're both, Cecilia replied. That's how this works. You didn't just marry a man. You marry his people, his burdens, his ghosts. But you also inherit his strength. Emmeline looked down at the bracelet. It wasn't diamonds. It wasn't flashy. It was something better. Belonging. Months later, the city still whispered about the failed assassination. Some said the Fishers had gone soft. Others said they'd become more dangerous than ever. Nobody touched Emmeline, not after what happened to the man who tried. Inside the estate gates, life shifted into a new rhythm. Emmeline spent mornings studying with Mrs. Patterson, afternoons helping Cecilia in the garden, evenings waiting for Roberto to come home from meetings less bloody than they used to be. He changed slowly. He didn't step away from power overnight, but he started passing responsibilities, closing unnecessary conflicts, drawing harder lines about what he would and wouldn't allow. "Why?" Emmeline asked him one night as they sat beneath the courtyard tree. "Because I used to think my legacy was fear," he said. "Now I want it to be something else." "What?" He looked at her. "Survival with dignity, for the people under me, for my mother, for you." He paused. "For our children, if we have them. They shouldn't inherit war." The word "our" echoed between them. He didn't take it back. She didn't want him to. "You're building an exit," she realized. "A way out." "Maybe not for me," he said, "but for whoever comes next, for our future." Exactly 1 year after Emmeline pulled Cecilia from the car, the Fisher estate celebrated quietly. No fireworks, no public displays, just a long table beneath the courtyard tree. Candles, warm food, 3 people who'd been stitched together by fate. "This is not traditional Thanksgiving," Emmeline teased. "It is now," Cecilia declared. "The day my daughter-in-law saved me." Emmeline flushed. "I'm not officially your daughter-in-law yet." "You will be," the older woman cut her off. "And if my son drags his feet, I will personally drag him to the altar." Roberto shook his head. "I was going to ask her, in my own time." Cecilia pointed her fork at him. "Time's up." Emmeline laughed, covering her face. "Can you two not argue about my theoretical wedding in front of me?" "Why theoretical?" Roberto asked quietly. She peeked through her fingers. He was looking at her with that same open, terrifying softness. "Emmeline," he said, standing and moving to her side, "my mother claimed you before I knew what was happening. The city sees you as mine. The enemies fear you because you're protected. But I don't want your life to be defined by war or obligation." He took her hand, thumb brushing the bracelet. "I want you to choose me, not my world, me." Her eyes filled. "You think I haven't already?" "I want to hear it." She stood too. "In the alley, you saved your brother," she said. "On that street, I saved your mother. In this house, we've been saving each other ever since." She took a breath. "And I'm tired of pretending that's a coincidence. I choose you, Roberto Fisher, with your past, with your scars, with every unfinished piece of the man you are." His chest rose sharply. That sounded dangerously like a vow. "Maybe it is," she replied. He dropped to one knee. Cecilia gasped so loudly it almost broke the moment, but then she covered her mouth, eyes overflowing. "Emmeline Velázquez," he said, voice steady, "will you stop being our guest and become what my mother called you the day fate threw you into our lives? Will you marry me, truly, not as a shield, not as a political move, just as the woman I love?" The world blurred. Emmeline could hear her own heart. "Only if you promise one thing," she whispered. "Anything. Promise me that no matter how dark things get, you will never shut me out. If I'm going to carry this life with you, I want all of it." His throat tightened. "I promise, on everything I have left." "Then yes," she breathed, "I'll marry you." Cecilia started crying and clapping. "Finally!" she shouted. "I told you! Didn't I tell you? She's the one! I knew it the second she ruined my car and saved my life!" Emmeline laughed through tears. "You're never letting me forget that, are you?" "Never," Cecilia grinned. "It's the best accident that ever happened to me." Roberto stood and pulled Emmeline into his arms. The bracelet glinted in the candlelight. The courtyard tree rustled softly. Somewhere beyond the walls, the city kept roaring, uncaring. Inside, 3 people sat down to dinner, not as mafia royalty and an outsider, but as a family. A mother who found a daughter when she thought she'd only find death. A son who finally allowed himself to love without apology. And a waitress who walked into a deadly accident and walked out with a destiny she never saw coming. She didn't just save a life that day in the road, she found her own.